Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Being John Malkovich, and this movie is directed by Spike Jonze, written by Charlie Kaufman, and it stars John Malkovich, as you would probably expect, and John Cusack is in it, and Cameron Diaz. And going on to Spike Jonze for just a moment, and Charlie Kaufman, one at a time, obviously. Spike Jonze, the only other movie I've seen from him is Her, which is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. I think it's number 3. I really love that movie, and I could watch it any day. And going on to Charlie Kaufman, he's written some really great screenplays, this being one of them. But I think my favorite screenplay that he's written would be Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Or at least that's my favorite movie that he's been attached to. I would have to rewatch some other stuff from him, and I've only seen one movie that he has directed, that being I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I wasn't big on, unfortunately, but I'll come back to it someday. But anyways, I thought this movie was pretty fantastic, and honestly, it's kind of difficult to pin this movie down into one genre. In some ways, it's kind of comedic, and it's very funny at times. It has some really great humor to it, and characters aren't always telling jokes, and some ways it's kind of a romance film. It's kind of science fiction, fantasy, and it's almost kind of horrific at times, just conceptually, in terms of like what this movie does with its concept. And it's basically in a universe where you can be John Malkovich. And when I heard that concept, I always thought like it turns you into John Malkovich and you're just living his life basically as John Malkovich. That's how I interpreted it, but it's a little bit different than that, and I'm not going to get into the specifics because I don't want to spoil anything, but long story short, the concept is explored as much as it could possibly be, and the movie does lots of interesting things with it, and it never over-explains anything, in my opinion, nor does it give you too little to where you're confused as to how things work, and anything that it doesn't explain, you're just going to have to imagine or interpret things that were either off-screen or not explained, because the movie does want you to think about it, and there is a lot to think about in this movie, and this movie does get crazy at points, and it's always entertaining for me. I was never bored. The near 2-hour runtime was completely justified, in my opinion, and there's lots of funny ideas in this movie. Like, I'm gonna spoil one tiny thing, but it's like throughout the entire film, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. Floor 7.5, that was pretty funny. And the characters in this movie are very well set up, and they're all kind of toxic people, but the way the movie approaches them and kind of shows and explores what these characters do with each other when they're together is very interesting to me, and never once did it lose me. Because having characters like that can easily ruin a film, but they somehow managed to pull it off in a way that worked for me. And I also thought the acting was pretty great in this movie as well. Like John Cusack, I can't remember any performances from him that really blew me away, but this one I thought was excellent. I really believed his character, and he has a lot to work with, and I don't really want to say too much about his character for obvious reasons. But long story short, he does a great job in this movie, and Cameron Diaz, when I see her in this movie, I don't see the actress, I see a character. I also really love how this movie is shot, especially the POV shots. Those are always really creative and interesting. Even though they're really simple, what's done with them is very effective, in my opinion. And going back to the pacing, this movie is surprisingly fast-paced, and things that would normally happen towards the climax of the movie in this film happen a lot earlier on in this movie. Like something that you would possibly assume would happen like towards the end happens in the middle of the movie, surprisingly, and then the second half of the movie goes, and you have no idea where it's going, and I love that about the movie. It always stays unpredictable, and it just explores layers and layers and layers and just never stops going, and even when the movie's done, I still feel as though there's so much to think about and chew on. I haven't even mentioned that this movie came out in 1999, and it's What a great year for movies. Like, I can't even name every movie that I think is great from '99 because there's just so many. So many great films, and at least 5, and eventually, possibly, maybe one day it'll go to 10 movies that I would rate 10 out of 10 on my channel. And so I think that's pretty awesome. And as far as issues are concerned with this movie, I really couldn't find anything wrong with this movie, except for like one tiny little nitpicky thing, and that is involving with floor 7.5. And obviously, you know, I don't think this is really spoiling anything, even with it being like a kind of a small floor. Like, characters are always crouched down. But the entire time I'm watching these scenes, I kept thinking about why do characters have their backs crouched, or like why are they bending their back instead of bending their knees, or like standing on their knees? Like, couldn't you just do that? Like, it's probably better for your health. But that was the only thing that I was thinking about, and it doesn't take away from the movie at all. And it's just like one tiny thing, but I guess it kind of plays into the idea that these people are just idiots in a sense. Like, they would probably overlook something as simple as that. And that's about all I have to say about Being John Malkovich. I feel like I can watch this movie again right now, and I wouldn't be disappointed at all. Personally, I wouldn't say it's better than Her, but that's only because I've seen this movie once. So we'll see what happens upon multiple viewings, and this movie just gets better and better the more I think about it. And honestly, this movie may not be for everyone. It is kind of out there, but if you're willing to watch a movie that's kind of thoughtful and wants you to think about it, then I think this is a good movie for you. So check this movie out whenever you get the chance, and with all that being said, I'm going to give Being John Malkovich a 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of Being John Malkovich, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Adaptation. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.